Yeah, please come.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Morning. We call you 𝗬𝗱𝗃, right?
Yes, sir.
Please sit down.
Thank you, sir.
So we'll give you a minute and a half. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is 𝗬𝗱𝗃, and I originally come from Jaunpur, Uttar Pradesh. I have been brought up in the state of Maharashtra in 𝗨𝗃𝗃 district. I did my graduation and post-graduation so-called as integrated dual degree in mechanical engineering from IIT BHU Varanasi, and I graduated in 2018. And thereafter I joined Indian Revenue Services Customs and Indirect Taxes in the month of December last year, 2022. I cleared the exam of CSE 2020. I like to play chess, and I have also explored multiple sports, be it cricket, table tennis, and football.
So you're undergoing training already, or you have taken leave?
So I am presently undergoing training at 𝗨𝗂𝗍𝗃.
All right.
I joined in December 19th last year, 2022.
All right. Anil, you want to initiate?
𝗬𝗱𝗃, you are from Jaunpur. Tell me about something, Jaunpur.
Sir, Jaunpur is a district in eastern Uttar Pradesh. It has multiple architectural grandeur that is being there, such as Atala Masjid, the Jama Masjid, the Lal Darwaza Masjid. And
Some history also there of Jaunpur.
right, sir.
Very briefly, tell me something
The
about
𝗨𝗃𝗃 Sultanate used to rule in the region. The Jaunpur is a city that was being established by the Tughlaq dynasty, and more specifically the Firoz Shah Tughlaq in 1360s, on the memory of his beloved brother Muhammad bin Tughlaq, who was also known by the name of Jana Khan. And the 𝗨𝗃𝗃 Sultanate, which ruled around 1450s and to 1520, had interest in the Khayal music. The Jaunpuri Rag used to emerge from there.
Right.
Even thereafter, the Jaunpur was very prominently known as a Sufi culture of learning, and it was a prominent place of Hindu-Muslim unity.
some agricultural crop, something special item, vegetable. Tell me something about it.
So, one is the radish of the Jaunpur is very famous,
Right.
and secondly,
Quite big in size.
yes, sir. It is very big in size, and more. It is big in size because of the saline water that it receives from the waterlogged regions of the Jaunpur.
Okay, you are from BHU. Which hostel you studied? You were there?
So I was we used to, from 2013 the new regulation was to shift the hostels. So I was in 𝗬𝗱𝗃𝗃 hostel. Thereafter we shifted to 𝗬𝗱𝗃𝗃, the DG hostel, and lastly in the limdi hostel.
Limdi last.
Yes.
Okay. In the beautiful campus of BHU, there are variety of a particular tree. What is that?
So I see the 𝗨𝗂𝗃 tree is very abundantly there, and the second is the mango tree is
Mangoes
abundantly
variety, the best varieties of mangoes are there. There is a very big, very rich central library.
Yes, sir.
What is the name?
Sri Sayaji Gaikwad Central Library.
And there is a hospital also inside.
Yes.
What is the name?
So it's known by the name Sir Sundarlal Hospital.
There is a Kulgeet also.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you recite a few lines?
So I tried to remember it. So it was.
Who was its author?
Sir, can I take few seconds?
Sure, you can
Thank
take.
you. Sri S.S. Bhatnagar
Yes.
had written the
Right.
Kulgeet.
Okay, why Eastern UP and Western UP has got certain difference in their ecology and the economy both? Can you cite few reasons for that? Number one, part A, and part two, part B. How Western, richness can be brought in the Eastern part, because there is a abject poverty and all these things. You must have felt this thing.
Right, sir. Sir, the difference is because of the colonial exploitation that took place. The Eastern Uttar Pradesh was majorly under the Permanent Settlement Act, that is the Zamindari, and there the exploitation was very clearly visible. Secondly, the destruction of the traditional handloom industry and the traditional articrafts was also very prominent. So in a way, it led to de-urbanization and the de-ruralization of the agriculture in the regions of the Eastern Uttar Pradesh. Thirdly, sir, the consecutive floods in the Eastern Uttar Pradesh led to very low agricultural production. Fourthly, a lot of dynasties were very prominent in the Western Uttar Pradesh, and even in the if we come to the post 1947 times, the focus of the being on Delhi led to the Noida and the development of the Western Uttar Pradesh. Even when the government came in 2007 and 8, the focus was again on the Noida sector. The Western Uttar Pradesh was very prominent. Therefore, the Eastern Uttar Pradesh was slightly on the outskirts. But now, sir, the pace has taken place.
Certainly. My last question is,
Sir.
in Varanasi, the number of projects has been started recently by Prime Minister has visited. Can you name something that for the first time it has been brought in the Varanasi?
Sorry, sir, I could not hear the last statement, sir.
New thing has been brought, some transportation type thing, or something like that. Our Prime Minister has given some Silanyas and all these things.
So one I could recall is the luxurious cruise ship that has been brought in Varanasi, and the starting of the ferry services for the promotion of the tourists in the region, sir.
Thank you.
𝗬𝗱𝗃, what, according to you, what factors or what are the reasons which are stopping the growth or development of the country?
The first is the geopolitical turmoil that is being taking place. With regards to that, the federal rates revision. Secondly, the Russia-Ukraine conflict that led to the inflation across the globe and the increase in the global commodity prices. And third is the trade wars and the protectionist tendencies that is being occurring. With regards to the domestic factors that are responsible, I think a lot of measures have already been taken place for the fructification of the business investment that is taking place. However, much has to be done. The logistic cost in India as of now is around 14 to 15% of the GDP. And secondly, yet there are a lot of restrictions being imposed on the business. And steps are being taken. These are some restrictions I can recall of.
Okay. What is important, more important, EQ or IQ? And can IQ of a person be raised also?
Ma'am, I see that both are equally important in an era of technology and knowledge that is being leading. If a person is not being emotionally stable and not being emotionally strengthened enough to face the challenges of this day, I think IQ would be useless entity. And with regard to IQ can be increased, yes ma'am, I believe firmly that IQ can be improved. We all are born equal, and after all the regular training and practice, we become what we are as of now.
Okay. What are greenhouse gases?
The greenhouse gases are such as the CO2, CH4, NO2, and water vapor as well. The more dangerous greenhouse gases are SFCs, the PFCs.
And which is most potent one?
Ma'am, I'm not clearly very sure regarding SFCs or HFCs. Okay. Either of these are the most potent greenhouse gases.
And is there any mechanism by which the greenhouse gases are removed from the atmosphere?
Ma'am, can I take few seconds to think of?
Yes, natural mechanism.
Ma'am, in terms of natural mechanism, the flow of wind itself leads to these gases being pushed to the stratosphere, and thereafter it gets merged into the ozone layers. This is the one mechanism I can think. Second is the absorption by the forest regions, the coastal regions and the mangroves through the carbon. They act as a carbon sink.
Okay. My last question, you said through the action of wind, the gases are brought to the upper layers of atmosphere. Now just tell me how ozone depletion takes place.
Ma'am, the mechanism is when the ozone depletion substances, the ozone depletion, the substances such as CFCs, the R12, the refrigerants that are being used, are being pushed to the upper layers of the ozone. These reacts with the chlorine molecules in the ozone layer and the oxygen layers, O3 molecules, and it leads to the formation of radicals of oxygen, the so-called as O dot, O dot, and O dot.
Yes.
And this further leads to the chemical reaction of destruction of the other oxygen molecules in the region.
Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're a mechanical engineer from IIT PHU. Ajay, tell me, you have already joined Indian Revenue Service. In your opinion, what are the reasons for fall of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank? Do we see this kind of problem in future for our other banks in India?
Sir, regarding the first part of the question, the reason for the fall is the Trump regime had exempted the banks with less than $250 billion of deposits to be in the Basel III norms. So the capital norms were being relaxed for these banks. Secondly, these banks had a lot of their money being invested into particular US Treasury, and because of inflation and the rate hikes by the US Federal Bank, they had to suffer a loss of around $2 billion out of a $21 billion. So there was a fear in the market, and people started withdrawing their money from the fund, and that led to a bank run situation.
That led to, okay. So in India, what do you see? Now, like recently, finance minister had warned the bank also. So either they should collect more deposits to become stronger, because there is a hike in the rate of interest by the banks also because of the repo rate.
Sir, regarding the same, the RBI governor has himself said that India needs to have a risk management strategy. Although our capital buffer norms, the Basel III, has been implemented at larger scales, and there is a strict regulation by the RBI on these banks which are being on the verge of, which are being vulnerable to such incidences. However, the economy of India is largely being resilient to these situations. There are exceptions wherein these banks have led to a fall, but that is being primarily because of certain individuals being shareholders or the stakeholders in the banks running up to the corporate governance process.
Okay. Now, what do you see the de-dollarization? Recently, we have opened the business with Malaysia and some other countries where the exchange will take place in rupee.
So de-dollarization is a term wherein the banks across the globe, the countries are not being very much dependent on the dollars. They are having their trade mechanism either in terms of real. For instance, the rupee real trade mechanism is being thought to be about India and Iran. Likewise, China and Russia have an agreement to trade in the yuan. And these, the China, the Russia, and most of these countries, which are not having very stable relationship with the West, are not having a lot of their money invested in the dollar term securities. So it is a way of strategizing their own hard money.
My last question, in Bihar they are trying for caste census. What is your opinion? Is it beneficial for the country, or what kind of repercussions will have?
Sir, regarding beneficial, we need to have first the idea of what impact, what negative and what positive impact can it lead to. Any such caste census which is not very well thought of and being bought into the public for a political motive or even for the social and economic motive needs to be well discussed behind the doors and then being bought into the place. Any survey will definitely have a positive impact in the society. However, its negative repercussions also needs to be studied with regards to the mobilization, being the disruption of the law and order, and the sense of injustice that might prevail in some of the communities in the country.
Basically, political motives should be avoided.
Right, sir. Absolutely, it should be avoided, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, 𝗬𝗱𝗃, is Indian government's goal 2 trillion economy by 2030, $2 trillion economy, not $2 trillion export.
Yes.
Is it a realistic goal?
Sir, as of now, this year, the exports have been $750 billion, and it is expected to reach around $760 billion. If we look at the same export data of previous year, the previous financial year, it was around 660 billion. Even that previous year, it was around 500 billion. So every year we see the growth of around $100 billion. And with the new FTP, new foreign trade policy being in place, and India being bringing about reforms in terms of custom facilitation and ease of doing business with regards to trade, I expect that the growth rate required from present to till 2030 would be around at least 20% of growth rate, 20-25% of growth rate to have tripling the exports. It is very possible, sir. As of now, this year, the growth rate in exports have been around 16 to 18%. So it is, in a way, it is an ambitious target, and it is very realistic since the growth rate difference between what is being there from the past 3 years and what is being expected in the future 7 years is very much in line, sir.
How does trigonometry play a significant role in mechanical engineering?
So there are wide applications. To start with, I will start with the theory of machine. In the stress, for instance, in any beam or any structural material that is being bought up, the angle of force, the stress, the thrust that is being there in engineering mechanics, the trigonometry plays an important role. Likewise, even in the fluids, the flow of velocity, at what angle it is being flowing, at what direction it is being flowing, it is also in a critical component, be it in and more specifically in pumps and the compressors. There are wide applications. To put it in very small words is
Okay,
difficult for me.
how to make UP, Uttar Pradesh as an Uttam Nagar, creating jobs in unorganized sector? Take the example of Jaunpur.
One is we need to study every district very wisely. For instance, there are strengths with every district. Jaunpur has a different strength than Bhadoi and Varanasi. So, investing in those segments wherein the traditional industries, the traditional articraft, the handloom, the power looms, the carpet industry, or the particular location that has been famous for the same needs to be invested. With that, district export hubs that is already being talked of, the town of export schemes is being there. So that way we can promote the district in particular way. Secondly, investments in agriculturally allied occupations such as agroforestry, the aquaculture, the pottery, the horticulture is being very much lagging in the state of Uttar Pradesh and more specifically in the eastern Uttar Pradesh. Thirdly, sir, we need to bring these bring an institution, the center of facilitation for the incubators. There are multiple MSMEs that are being bought up but not being well enriched in terms of knowledge of transportation, logistics, technology, innovation, research and development, and then they lack a lot to these extents. Therefore, incubators and accelerators that can push these industries to a better level would be very beneficial. And fourthly, sir, the availability of credit in the market would be another way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Suryabhan, I'm sure you have studied about WTO. Now tell me, what are the basic principles of WTO which aim to ensure free and fair trading system? What are those basic principles?
So one is the status of most favored nation status, and second is normal trading, normal treatment that emphasizes on equal treatment for all the countries with regard
The national treatment,
right, sir. Thank
not
you.
normal treatment. Yes.
Thank you for correction.
National
sir.
treatment. Yes.
it's
What
not.
else?
So these are two that I can recall as of now.
All right. When it comes to, you have started your training, right? When it comes to, for example, you said trade facilitation. Now, in trade facilitation, an important component is what is called the taxonomy of products, product taxonomy, right?
Right, sir.
Yes. In taxonomy, there are two systems which operate. Can you tell me what are those two systems which operate? If not, I'll mention because that's not the question. Exactly.
One is
the harmonized system
of nomenclatures.
and other is CCN system, right? Which the Europeans use, in fact.
Sir.
Do you know the difference between these two?
So we have not been taught this.
You have not been
I
taught,
will
no problem.
read more about this.
No issue, no problem at all. No problem. You mentioned about the feasibility of Indian exports reaching $2 trillion by the target date, right? Now tell me what kind of hurdles you foresee, because when you make estimates, you must take into account the favorable environment and also a disfavorable environment. Now, what are there in that basket of disfavorable factors?
One is the emerging trade protectionism and the tariff war that is being
Protectionism, yes, because I was referring to your earlier candidate, where the Americans saying we want to ensure that all supply chains begin and end within the United States. Now, which means what?
Protectionism.
One of your largest trading partner saying that means it will be a major problem. Then everybody is saying the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So all right, protectionism is one. What else?
The second is the global situation, the geopolitical tensions that should not arise. For instance, the Russia-Ukraine war-like situation or
Fine.
COVID pandemic-like situation.
Let's see India-specific obstructions. What are more India-specific issues which will come in the way or may come in the way?
One is our exports relations needs to be diversified and more
Diversification. But don't you see our export destinations are pretty diversified. So are the products, in fact. We are not really a single item export basket or a single country export destination. We have at least 4 or 5 major export destinations and at least 4 or 5 major sectors of our export. Yeah. So I'm not really worried there, but there are more fundamental reasons which come in the way. If I relate it to the supply chains, or the other term we use is the value chains. Do you see our problem with the global value chains?
Yes, sir. Most of the imports are being, for instance, $101 billion import relation is with China itself. And a lot of manufacturing industries right from India are being dependent on the input of raw material that come from these countries.
Exactly.
And
So what, about 60% of the Indian exports are import dependent.
right.
So that is a major issue. What else? No problem.
I will have to think.
You also talked about rupee trade, right? Can you think, or have you studied past successful models of rupee trade? Can you think of some? That in the past we have had very successful rupee trade models. Because some people, they think, oh, this is the first time we are talking about it. Yes?
So in early 1990s, with Russia, we had a free trade.
A huge one.
Yes.
A huge
in
rupee
rupees.
trade. What else? Anything else you can think of? And it worked for so many years, in fact. It's a very successful model, in fact, to our advantage. What else?
I will have to read, sir. This is one I could recall as of now.
You have to read. Can BRICS be a pivot to de-dollarization?
And
Any reason?
Yes, I have a reason, sir. One is the alternative financial system of through a new development bank, wherein IMF and World Bank being dominated by the Western nations, BRICS could be an alternative to the third world countries.
We already have a BRICS bank.
Yes, sir. BRICS
Yes?
bank.
Yeah.
Second way could be the BRICS countries that are having trade among themselves could have a trade in their own format of
All BRICS countries have very strong bilateral trading arrangements.
Already currency reserve arrangements are being made, and
Should India, give me an honest reply, your according, should India actively support a BRICS alternative to dollar?
so can I take few seconds to form my opinion?
Because you will have to have a reason.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So my opinion is, as of now, India should adopt a wait and watch policy, how the global situations turn out to be.
Very good.
And
Very good, very good. Okay, we finish here.